Welcome back to the mini Nuke build. Now, at this point, you would say that this thing is pretty much done, and we can go lobby a super mutant. But there's several bits left to do, as in, this is too good. As in, this thing could have just come out of the factory, and we don't want it to look like it just came out of the factory. It's over 200 years old, it should look it. Now, unfortunately, I've been a complete twit and forgotten one thing, so I'll be back in a second after picking it up. Doing the black stripes on the hazard section. Important, but also more important, is I bring black paint to do the stripes with, because you ain't painting anything without paint. So, shake up the paint, make sure it's mixed. And there's not much, I'm just doing some hazard stripes, so it's just going to be a little bit of paint. Just do some stripes along this yellow section. Okay, I said a little bit of paint, not no paint. Then we come across here, paint that. See, we're now getting some stripes going. Again, these stripes don't actually feature on the in-game model, but I think they look quite appropriate. You know, I'm guessing this is an impact detonator and this is a nuclear weapon, so you want to warn people that the head of this thing is like, you know, what sets it off, and don't touch anything past here. In most cases you want these lines parallel, but I'm not most cases. So, there you go. They're not at the same frequency or position, but, I mean, it works. I mean, in this one, I'm calling back to this, where I had them on there. It's, again, may as well reference your own builds at some point. But now, we have a mini Nuke, which pretty much factory ready, as I said earlier. Now, if I'd stop touching the paint that's wet, it would be good. So now I've got to make this thing look scuffed up, so I've got to go through the paint. Now I can either cut through the paint, which would look horrible, or I could actually, like, you know, age all of these bits first and then do the scratches afterwards. Sorry, I'm... Okay, shake the paint. So I'm going to get a relatively flat brush for this. And I'm just going to do half of it. I'm going to need to calm down a bit because I'm being, well, not silly, but a bit ridiculous with it. What I'm doing here is just doing half of it, then the other half, but leaving a little gap in the middle to make it look like a screw. I don't know if you can actually see it on there because, you know, camera, but this is just for rust that will have applied to the screws over the years. Or, well, not rust, just basic corrosion. You know, metal doesn't remain looking chrome for its entire life. Apart from maybe chrome, but I mean, I don't think they're making these screws out of chrome. I mean, to be fair, almost everything else in the Fallout universe is made of chrome, so I would understand if they were. Like I say, it's a lot easier to do it in these. Like I say, I can hear that banging and it's annoying me, so I'm probably gonna have to shut the door. I was sort of hoping I wouldn't have to, but I'm not doing any hot work, so the amount of stuff in the air should be minimal. Okay, so you can see there they look a little bit more like screws, and I mean you only have to fool someone for like 2 seconds when they look at it, so it's not really a priority. Now this is a very light coating of this paint going on. So once it's on, spread it around as much as possible, and so you end up like that, so it's less shiny, but you can still see some of the shine through it. Now I am no way an expert painter, so my technique will be bad. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go close that door. Yeah, now all you can hear is the computer fans trying to keep itself alive. While I'm doing it, I'm trying to keep a non-continuous motion, so it just looks more random, which you'll find rust very rarely sticks to a pattern. Well, corrosion does. You know, I think 100% coverage would be about right for this age. point you can see that I'm separating off very little amounts of the paint so I don't end up with thick, it just dusts on. I believe this is what model makers call dry brushing, but I'm not particularly in that community, so my expertise there are low. Don't forget to do the insides. Dirt doesn't really care where it came from, it just is there. I'm of course not going to need as much as I've poured out. I never have. Partially because I'm a bad judge of how much paint I need, but also because I like having too much. Okay, so now that looks, well, you can see the shine's reduced at least. Make sure I get over the top. Just separate that out a little. Do that. Okay, I say we've got enough there to say that bit's done. Okay, so that bit's been aged, but now we have to do scratches to the paintwork, and I have no intention of scratching my paintwork. Put that in there before it dries, because that's the same solver as last time, so it's going to put up a fight. Don't think we need more than that. Now I believe the scourer off the top of this will be pretty effective for this. Because what I need is thin lines for scratching. You know, like that. Yes, you can see we're starting to get some scratches going. Now I did the black up the top first because I really need that to work. I really need it to be dry for later. This thing has been being dragged around for 300 years. It's not going to look good. So it's getting scratched up an amount. Now I'm going to do extra bits on the highlights here so they all look more scratched. Because they're the high sections, they will have got the worst of it. Now we're trying not to actually damage the paintwork underneath. But also the like sponge, because it's a scourer, will be leaving lines in it, which is what we want in the end. So as you can see, it's getting scuffed up, and the idea of going into a perfectly good prop and scuffing it up. Now, most of this damage is just like from being dropped and dragged and stuff like that. Oh wow, that was way too much. At some point this set the crap beaten out of it in that corner. So yep, more roughed up. I don't really know what did all that damage there, but I gotta say, that one. But whenever it happened, they must have crapped themselves. I'd be pretty worried. a little bit more. Anywhere we've got a sharp edge or a corner or anything like that, it'll have picked up some scratches over time. So it's now looking more at its age. Now is that black dried is the question. Okay, it turns out that black is so thick that we actually can't just brush onto it like that. So fine, I'll just use a regular brush. I may be objecting to using the brush, but I mean, I was intending to be using it anyway, so it's like down here, just do some damage to the paint. This has presumably seen a lot of sun, so do some little bits so it looks like there's some cracking. And I mean, I'm very bad at making it look like cracked paint, but now you can see there's some more damage. So I turn it slowly into the light so it's seeable. So this thing's been beaten up pretty bad. But, I mean, it's still pretty clean. So let's change that. So this is brown paint mixed with water. It's pretty old at this point. Actually, no. Wash last, rust first. What type of metals don't require rust? Aluminium. Anything isn't steel. I think if I get a flat brush, that should be good enough. So we pick up some brown paint. That's the wrong bit of paint. This crown gets more. Again, I'm just trying to make it look like this is relatively new rust. It's been abused, but not let to rust yet. I mean, this inside has evidently not been looked after as much as the outside. Okay, I'm just tapping on a little bit of rust on the inside now. So yeah, you may be able to see that. Basically, anywhere where there's exposed metal, I'm just going to put some rust. Should have found a round top brush for this. And some on the inside, because people are less likely to see in there, but may at least remain consistent, the fact that we've decided this thing is rusted. Uh-oh, that's black. That's not good. Most of the other colours I can cover up, but black sort of goes through everything. a little bit further to go on the inside. Like I say, the paint job always takes a lot longer than I think it will. I guess if when you think about it, individually putting like every dot of rust on is not going to take a short time, is it? Okay, so now it's aged up a bit more covered in rust and a bit more beaten up, which is good, but still it can do better, which is what this is for. Now, I keep on threatening to do this, and I'm actually quite worried about it because I've never done this before, but basically this is going to take the place of dirt. I'm hoping it just doesn't go on too thick or something, but I mixed this to go through my spray gun a few years ago. That is really fluid. That one, maybe. I want it to sink into all the gaps the way actual liquid dirt would. I have no doubt there will be someone telling me I'm doing a wash wrong. And you're right, I am. The fact is, this won't have been stored properly its entire life. So I've got to actually do this both ways. Hey, I want it to act like liquid dirt. If it flows over, it flows over. It's a bit hypocritical to complain about the fluid doing what I want it to. And yes, I did smell this paint beforehand just to make sure that, you know, it's not gone off and doesn't have anything growing in it. It's a few years old. I'm not 100% sure whether it's good or not. It keeps bugging me, the fact this is looking messy. It's like, ew, it's a mess. I don't like it. But then I remember, it's supposed to be a mess. Now I'm quite sure to do a wash properly, you're not supposed to put this much on or just leave it on like this. I think it's supposed to be done with very thin paints. Like as a one-off thing. But whoa. And how best simulate water? Use water. What I'm going to do is at the end, like, soak up the rest with the sponge. Also, my hands are getting filthy doing this. But you know what's more thematically accurate than, you know, dirtying something with actual dirt? Ooh. Okay, and now it looks dirty, because it is. So, now doing this, I'm not dragging, I'm just patting. So I didn't think I'd have to explain what I'm doing, but basically, if any of the paint gets wet underneath, it could do damage. So what I'm doing is just patting out, or patting it out all over the place. So you can see the scratches, you can see the dirt, and there you go. One messed up, nasty. Oh, okay, I feel dirty touching it. I'm gonna let it dry and go wash my hands. But I mean, that's it. The mini nuke's now done. It's absolutely filthy, but it looks like it could have been in a wasteland for several hundred years. Yeah, ick. Okay, so I mean, thanks for coming to watch my third mini nuke build. I hope you enjoyed yourself and, you know, hopefully learned what too much paint use is, because this is it. This is too much. So, hopefully I'll see you for my next build, which is, I don't know. I think I'm going to make in some armor next time, because I haven't in a while. But thanks for coming, and hopefully see you next project. Bye. Yeah. Oh, my hands are dirty. Okay. Bye for real.